Hello. Welcome to an impromptu practice stream. Today, if you're just tuning in later, since it's nobody possibly could be tuned in live right now, I'm going to practice a little bit of Brandenburg Concerto Number 2, which is a concerto grosso by Johann Sebastian Bach that features the trumpet. It would have been an F natural trumpet, which actually we might sort of, interestingly enough, we might sort of dabble with the I think I can make the correct length of trumpet out of one of my bass or alto trumpets. Yeah, so that might be interesting, but we're mostly going to play it on piccolo trumpet because I have to rehearse it this weekend and for a concert in about a month. And it's one of our sort of scariest, hardest pieces. So if you don't know this piece already, stop what you're doing, stop the stream, go check it out. Some of my favorite versions, oh my gosh, there are so many really good ones. Well, a lot of the ones that are great are period ensembles, which are done on real natural trumpets in F. And some of those are just really unbelievable. I believe there's a Trevor Pinnock in the English consort version, and I'm not sure who's playing trumpet on it, but it's really incredible. There's also, oh gosh, there's a really great Winton recording, which is it's much more modern, but that's kind of how people play it these days because we've all heard the Winton recording, right? So it's exciting because that's what we all wish we could do. So I'm not saying that I'm going to try to play it precisely like either one of those, but because it's a concerto grosso, you don't get to decide how you want to play it specifically. It's going to be more in a general sense what the ensemble decides together. And that may take on some sort of hybrid articulation. It may take on a more modern or a more sort of antiquity kind of style. And either one of those is totally fine. But we want to be adaptable. The other thing we're going to do today is we're going to play with reverb because my soundboard that I'm using here has a reverb unit built into it that's not very good. It's not bad either, but it's not like I would put it on my recordings or anything, but it's going to give us something that we desperately need, which is some semblance of the way that the hall that we're going to do this in sounds. So I believe it's in this local church here that has this almost 7-second reverb that is just really, really long. And it's really nice and even. It's sustained, which, is I guess what reverb is. But that doesn't make it easy to play, well, a piece with this much sort of light articulation. It's just going to be really washy in there. And so we want to be prepared on Saturday to shorten up that articulation if need be, or just do whatever it takes. And so having a reverb unit set up and ready to go is going to allow me to do that. It'll allow me to practice that as if we were in the hall. And this has saved my bacon a couple of times, even though I'm a vegetarian, don't eat bacon anymore. I guess saved my tempeh. I think there's tempeh bacon. Anyway, so I'm gonna practice this a little bit. The first thing, though, if you're gonna play a lot of piccolo trumpet, make sure you actually warm up on a regular trumpet a little bit. Now, I've played a lot today already, but I've chosen my French bassin because it really requires exacting tongue position, really carefully, sort of just masterful kind of tongue position. Yeah, I mean, it's not a better way to say that, right? Let me get my settings up here. Sorry about this. I want the preview window, and I want to see if that will stay. Yeah, that's what I need. So I can see the chat now. Like I said, nobody's here because this is an impromptu stream, but I thought I'd put it up anyway, just because it might be interesting to somebody later. I really haven't practiced Brandenburg at all, and I have... Well, today's Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I have 4 days to get it in good enough shape to at least rehearse it a little bit. And you might think, well, that sounds like you're starting awfully late, Gabriel. Well, yeah, but I practice piccolo and trumpet every single day, so it's not as if I'm getting it together from scratch. I'm just going to try to get specifically it together, but hopefully my trumpet playing is in good enough shape that I don't need terribly much to get it together. Now, endurance is an issue, and I'm going to have to think about that because while I'm teaching all day, I'm not necessarily playing long chunks of things. And so that's going to be something that I have to add to my routine, is that not only do I need to do probably more long tones on a big trumpet, but I probably need to do long tones and some light slurs on the piccolo trumpet for longer than I normally do, maybe late at night when I'm already done for the day or something like that. So these are all things to consider. I put this in B flat because you're going to play it on a B flat trumpet, the Brandenburg that is. Like I said, it's in F. We normally play it on B flat piccolo in the key of G for us, right? So if that doesn't make sense, it's just a bunch of transposition garbage. But basically, if you think about the concert pitch that you're playing, the piece itself is in F concert because it's written for F alto trumpet in the key of C. So we know it's in the key of F for everybody. And that means if I want to play it on a B flat trumpet, I have to play it in the concert key of F, which is that instrument's G, right? So if that's, like I said, if that's confusing, you'll figure it out. Transposition starts off sounding really, really confusing, and then later on it's like, oh yeah, of course, it's in the key of C for F trumpet, so that means it's in the key of G for B flat trumpet. Great. And we're not going to play the piece. We're just going to you can hear, I already have a little bit of reverb on there. I didn't turn it up like it's going to be, but I just wanted to get, let's turn it off actually. And let's take these off for a second. So that's a little bit of the piece. Like I said, I just want to get my lips re-warmed up after sort of a late lunch, early dinner here. And, you know, I'm just going to play some things. And, you know, why not? Let's turn the reverb halfway up. So there you go. It's going to sound like I'm in a big cathedral because that's where we're going to play it. This is only halfway to where I want it to be, though. So as you can guess how bad it's going to get. But what we're working on with this extra reverb tail is when I stop notes, do I skew the pitch? Can I make the articulation that I want sound like what it needs to sound like in this space? So and it has just this repeat effect. That's not going to really happen, but we're listening for the length of it, right? If it gets worse and worse, or we'll be able to hear it for longer. So if I skew the pitch like this, you can hear it over and over again. So we don't want that. So that's interesting, right? And it won't really sound even that much in the hall because those pitches will just blend together. This is all this type of reverb. All it's doing is taking the sound and playing it back at a lower volume with a little bit more diffusion in the sound. So you know, sort of taking away some of the overtones each time, and just less and less sound. Sort of, you can think of that as almost like it's taking away quality. Because that's probably literally what it's doing. It's probably decreasing the bit rate of the sample that it's storing very temporarily in its memory. So like I said, it's doing the right length of time. It's not really doing the right style of reverb, but I tried everything on here. We could, for instance, try Cathedral, right? turn that way up. There's Cathedral. I've never heard a cathedral sound so dead. I guess let's try turning it all the way up. See, it's too short, and this is the amount of reverb is really just altering the volume of it, which isn't helpful to me. Now I can use a small hall, concert hall. Let's try concert hall and see what type of reverb that does. Yeah, it's just too short, right? I guess I can leave that up. Let's leave it way up. How about almost all the way up? And we'll try a couple of other ones just so you guys can hear with me. I think that might be interesting. This is called Vibrant Room. This is, by the way, a Studio Live AR8C from PreSonus. It's actually a live soundboard that I'm using improperly. I have it hooked up to the microphones as a preamp, right, for the phantom power there. Uh-oh, just heard something click. I have it hooked up to the board so that that's the amplifier, right? But then I have the control room analog, so it's going analog to digital in the board, then back out to analog into the control room jacks, and then into a audio box, but also by PreSonus, audio box USB 96, which only has 2 channels, and so it's basically mixing the board down into the other box, and then that's coming USB in. So now it would be interesting to find out if it is in fact going digital and then going analog again. My bet is that it is, because it's able to apply these stereo digital effects, is what it calls them on there. So I think it's probably it's degrading the audio by going back in and out of analog and digital. But if all the connections are good and I'm only doing it twice or 3 times, let's say, then hopefully it's not killing me with quality degradation. But anyway, so what did I say? This is Vibrant Room. I hate it already. Let's change it to Large Club. Who knows? Yeah, you know, actually not too bad. Just not very good either. This is plate reverb. If you don't know what plate reverb is, this is something that is so super cool to check out, and also one of the more dangerous things that we've ever done. Not because of the plates themselves, but because the plate was dampened usually by giant asbestos curtains, kind of. These they weren't curtains per se, but they were like baffles that you would put nearer or further from the plate. And you basically had to crawl down where the reverb unit was and move them manually. And, well, they were made out of asbestos, which we know now is not a good thing to breathe. Right? Interesting reverb. Certainly can work in a lot of settings. Tape echo is quite literally just repeating. This is a really cool thing. Tape reverb it's also called. You take literal tape. I don't know if you guys know. Whoever is watching this may not know, but we used to use physical plastic tape with sort of like rust spattered on it and glued to it as the medium for recording sound. And so this makes me sound really old, but it's actually a little older than I am. I'm going to also get some valve oil on this while I talk. But basically what we would do is if you wanted to add reverb, but you didn't have an actual reverb unit, then that's okay. You would just play, you could play and record at the same time on most tape decks. So what you would do is you'd play something, and then you'd loop your tape around. So you're recording whatever it plays, right? That's the first thing. So the record head is on as well as where the play head is. So whatever the play head plays, the record head hears. And then you'd loop your tape around and feed it back into the same slot where the tape was going through, and it would play that tape again. And so then you'd get the same sound, but it would be later, right? And you could play that through a different head and adjust the volume so that it would play into the recording later and softer. And you could actually do that over and over again if you just all you really had to do was take the part that was recorded and feed it back through itself, and then it would sort of loop itself, and it would become whatever it played. Well, basically you'd move the playhead further out, so it would record here, and then it would play that same thing but at a reduced volume back into itself, and then it'd sound like reverb. So that's what tape reverb is. It's basically just playing you back again a little bit later. And this is going to affect the volume, I bet. So unfortunately, it's also changing our intonation, so that's not going to help us. And that's something that would have happened because the tape might play at slightly faster or slower speed after it had been stretched around the room on, various surfaces and whatever. Okay, let's try. I know what all these do: short delay, medium, long, and endless delay. That's what we chose last time, endless delay. And we're interested in the intonation of that ending. I'm also going to hook up. Oh, I don't have it anymore. Hold on. What we're going to do is hook up my my tuner to the soundboard through the auxiliary output. And what that's going to do for us, hopefully, is it will measure the intonation of the whole thing. So let's see if we can do that. Oh, hey, Dad. We're just hooking up. We're hooking up the tuner to the reverb so that it will measure the intonation of the reverb as well. And that will tell me if I'm in tune or not on Brandenburg, which is what we're working on right now. I'm trying to figure. Oh, there's this input. Okay, throw that back there. Put this on. Okay. You must have this set up to. Oh yeah. You must have this set up to notify you when I come on, huh? Because otherwise, nobody. I didn't advertise this or anything. I just decided, since I'm just starting to work on Brandenburg again, and I have to do it Saturday, I would document the process of practicing it a little bit. Because I didn't say this yet in the video, so I'm saying it now. It's an intimidating piece for sure because it has a lot of high notes in it. And it's on piccolo, and those are both things that bother us as trumpet players. We're afraid that we might not have the stamina, or we might not have the facility to do those things for a long amount of time. And I'm right there with everybody else, right? We all don't know how long I can do that, right? But I don't think this piece is as hard as people think it is. I'm not saying that it's easy for me by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that there's a logical way to approach it, and then, well, if you can't do some of it, then you're not ready to do it yet. And that may be me by the end of today, right? But the point is to address make those simple things that you can work on, and then work on those and do it. So it is Tuesday, which is not Friday, which is the normal day I do a stream. And I guess I start that stream at 3 o'clock. This is just me practicing. I can stream whenever I want because it's free to do. So anyway, here's our setup. I put on this ridiculous reverb because the hall that I'm going to play this in has like a 6-second reverb, maybe 7. So we could time that out, but if I put it to the maximum, that's very long. A little less. There. It's actually a little too long. Now remember, the reverb is going to not repeat this way. It's just going to be one long sort of, it's not going to echo. But we're using the echo to hear the length of time that anything I play in that hall sounds like. And then it'll be gone. Now, let's see if we can get this tuner. Yeah, it seems to measure the reverb just as well as it measures me. So see, that's what I was worried about. Yeah, a little sharp on that G. See if we can keep it down. Now, I'm not going to play it on B-flat trumpet, don't worry. But this is just to get warmed up and get my tongue position really in the right spots. Closer, still not great. The whole thing is a little sharp except for D, which makes sense. So, anyway, that's probably enough B-flat trumpet for now. We might go back to it because it's good to practice anything hard like this. If it's really high and that's the problem that's in the way, practice it down an octave, right? Get the right articulation, get the right fingerings, get all that stuff figured out, then pick up the piccolo. Right? And that's why I picked that French Bassin in B-flat. I thought I was going to put it in A because that's a little harder for me to get good articulation on, but I thought, well, I don't want to have to think about how it sounds half a step off, and I don't want to get the wrong fingerings under my belt either. We're also doing a mouthpiece test today. This is my normal mouthpiece. I played Brandenburg on the first and only time I've done it. It's a custom mouthpiece that, well, that's anything I tell you about it after that won't make any sense. So this is what I normally play on, though. And so we're going to test it first, but I really am interested to find out if this mouthpiece, which is basically the same as this, but with my more recent rim, I want to see if that works or not. It didn't work last time I tried it, but maybe I'm good enough finally enough to do it. Oh, now I'm flat. Good. Flat's good. I have a feeling I'll be sharp soon. This is a very shallow cup, so I've got to prepare to be sharp. That's not too bad, right? It read that as sharp, but I think it's because I wasn't being well defined enough. So I'm also going pretty slow and in very small chunks. A little sharp on that D, that's still pretty good. So now, what does this sound like in the hall? That's what we're really interested in, right? To me, it's sounding a little cacophonous, so can I play shorter? It's also probably going to be, I hope it's faster than this. So the faster I go, the more it's all going to bleed together too. So how about... You hear how it's all just wishy-washy all over the place. That's going to be a problem, especially with strings, right? This is mostly... Here, I'll shut this off for a second. This is mostly with strings and some woodwinds, right? And Baroque woodwinds at that. So I'm not sure. I think we'll probably have recorder instead of modern flute, in which case we're sort of leaning towards that ancient music style, which means I have to be ready for that articulation, which is not what we're doing right now. But again, it's about, we're training to have a variety of articulations that will fit the group and the space. And that's why the reverb unit is so important here, right? So, and I'm not going to practice for super long. If I do, I will be tired, and if I do that every day, I will not make it to Saturday. So, oh, I'm getting text messages, and oh, that's just my hair appointment for Friday, I think. How about this one? You hear it rings, 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 rings. And again, that pulsing won't happen, but I'll also probably be sitting, which might make a difference for me. I wish I could. I can't turn the camera down like I normally would, but I'll try to sit up. So that's what we're talking about, is in there, if you listen back, or if you were just listening carefully, you'll hear I kind of fell off one of the, let's see, where was it? I think it was one of the A's, maybe, the repeated A's. I got a little bit sort of down on the pitch at the end, and boy, did it just sink the whole resonance of the space, right? It just sounds dead, even though it's not. And that's the worst part. It sounds dead for a long time, because the thing that's making it sound dead is that it's flat and live. So that's what we have to be careful about. The other thing to be careful about in this piece is if it takes all your energy to play the first page, there's a second page and a third movement, right? So you have to really pace yourself You can't just bash your way through it. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm resting, I'm talking. Hopefully, rehearsal will go like this, but probably double length. So, in other words, I'll play maybe a page at a time, and then we'll stop and talk. I don't know if there's a conductor yet. I don't know how many people will be at the first rehearsal. I'm not in charge of any of this. I've just been asked to play the trumpet part, right? And that's very common. You're not in charge. You just show up and you're asked to do it in X number of rehearsals, and then you either can or can't do that. And what's hard about that is sometimes the group that you are asked to play. I've only played it one time, and the group I played it with was excellent, even though it was a student group. But they played really well, and it was also a harmony music version, so it was all winds and one violin instead of all strings and a few woodwinds. So a different version, also a legitimate version though. But sometimes you'll be asked to play it with a group that perhaps isn't that good, but is maybe doing a full run of all the Brandenburg concerti, and or I guess concertos grosso is probably the right plural of that. And so maybe they're a little out of tune, or maybe they're just not really matching articulations. But they're a decent group, and maybe they're playing the first Brandenburg really well, because that's when they know really well, and they don't do this one as often, so they're struggling a little bit. The key of F isn't a great key for most string instruments, so isn't a great key. If my diction made that sound like it was, it's not, right? Because they have a low E string. F is like, it probably feels like C sharp to them, the way that C sharp feels to us. So it's probably not that bad actually, because it's only one flat after all. But anyway, it's just there might be some problems with a group that you were asked to do this with in maybe 2 or 1 rehearsals, and so you need to be ready to either ignore that or blend with it anyway, or whatever it is. You certainly can't be like struggling to get through just the piece, because then you shouldn't have said yes to the gig. So that's what I'm trying to avoid. I said yes already, and this was months and months and months ago, and so now it's upon us, and well, that's what we're doing here. So let's crank our reverb back up, play a little more of this. I'm also going to try to play all the in-between notes this year. I didn't do it last time, and I might, if I feel like I can't do it, I'll get one of my students to be my assistant, and I'll show them all the notes I want them to play. But we'll see it at the first. It's good to do the first rehearsal, find out what it's going to be like, and if it's going to go really slow, I'm going to call my student and have him come play some of this with me, because it's just too hard. Let's see. We'll start here. Oh, we haven't played that yet. Huh. Oh, how about this? Got the wrong pitch in my ear. Not bad on the intonation there. So we won't take as much rest, but I want to be careful with this, that I feel confident when I get to Saturday. I don't need to be done today. I need to be done Friday night, right? Getting it all settled and together. And so far we're doing pretty well. I feel like I'm getting most of the stuff. When I don't get a note, it's because I'm letting this go a little too much. I need to just be firm in my embouchure and holding, and then my air is a little bit better. Let's see. So this is a good example of, I can probably play the in-between note, right? Yeah, I didn't catch that one. It sounded bad to me, didn't it? Didn't it to you? Yeah, sharp, right? Two and three alternate fingering on that note might save the day. I'm going to mark it in as a possibility with this Tombow Mono 100 2B. First we want to mark that trill because it's not actually in there. And then 2 and 3 in parentheses, I think. It's a good way to do that. Yeah, good. I'm glad I'm glad that gets the approval. I don't know what's something, or maybe it's this. Let's put this somewhere else. Let's put it something sounds like digital clicking, but I think it's this hitting stuff. I lost the okay, good. That's good to know. Yeah, I lost the fluffy part that is supposed to be a windscreen for this, and I really lost it somewhere. I mean, this microphone literally never leaves this room. I lost it before I went to the wedding, so I wouldn't have had it there. But so somewhere I'm afraid it's in one of my horns, like it fell down the bell or something. But all right. Oh, that's right. No, it's not. I have to remember this is down a fourth. It's just very strange to me to play down a fourth when I'm not holding an E-flat trumpet and playing a B-flat part. So I keep second guessing that this is a D part on A piccolo, which is down a fifth. You know what I mean. Anyway, don't do what I did. Play the right notes. I knew I was going to stop after that. We got the high A. Turn the reverb off for now. We got the high A, which is great. It didn't feel super great, but I only need to get it a couple more times, right? Doesn't need to feel great for me to get it twice more. And the F, more importantly, the F was in tune after the A, the final note there. The other thing we need to remember is what the chords are underneath some of these notes, right? So these... those are fine, and then that C is a seventh, right? I believe that C is the dominant seventh of a D7 chord, and that would make sense because it goes to a G chord, a G triad, which D7 would be the 5 of, right? And then we go into a little minor thing before the high A. So, yeah, if you want to scan me the handwritten part, I'll for sure look at it. I'm just playing. The last time I played it off the IMSLP part, which is just a Calamus reprint, I believe. It's real. I mean, it's easy to look at. It's not bad, but I can always use any other part to study. I'm happy to look at. So anyway, so we want to make sure that we play that low enough, and it's probably still not even low enough. But again, I have to do what the ensemble does on Saturday, or I guess what we decide by the actual concert. If that is a D7 chord, as I think it is, then I'm going to have to ask the ensemble to either tune it in just intonation so that we bring that 7th down and the 3rd down a little bit, but the 7th goes way down. Or if that doesn't seem like a possibility with that configuration of people, then we need to play it like in tune with a tuner, in which case I probably won't play it 2 and 3 anymore, right? But this is what I'm talking about, is these little details. This is the kind of stuff that makes your lip feel bad, and you don't know why. You go, oh, why does this note feel so terrible? Well, because you feel like it's, 20, 27, 20, 29 cents sharp, even when you're perfectly in tune, because it should be brought down in just to hear it in tune in the chord, right? So that's the kind of stuff that if you don't anticipate it, then you just feel bad, and then it's harder to make it through pieces like this. So it really goes to show you that knowing the score and the details, now I say that I could be wrong about that chord and then somebody will call me on it, but the score, knowing the score and the details can sometimes really make or break whether or not you can even make it through a piece. So anyway, let's crank that reverb back up. I like, right now it's hard for me to play as short as I'm playing just to play with this reverb, but I think that might be the answer here, and if I get used to it, then I can make it more efficient, and then it'll actually be easier to play. I mean, in theory. So let's go at it's the same place, right? I haven't tuned the double high A, but it sounded okay, just 4th valve, so we'll try that. It's tough. So, I mean, we're down to the last little bit here. I didn't want to just crush my lip. Like I said, we're playing a longer game than just today. But I got through the double high A part, so that, again, gives me a little bit of confidence. If I work on my piccolo playing, and I work on my efficiency, and I work on my strength a little bit, then I have a better chance of making this whole passage a lot easier. And I'm intentionally going slow for me. I think it probably will be about this fast, whether I like it or not. This is a good stringy kind of chun, 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 right? They like that kind of tempo. Chun, 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 chun. They can do that, but they might, the 16th notes start to get a little bit fast then for them to be really accurate. I'm not saying that you couldn't do it, but if we're only going to do this on, let's say, 2 rehearsals, and maybe you have to count on that nobody else has looked at their part by the first rehearsal, because that's usually true of someone, right? It may not be everybody, but this is another just rule of gigs that somebody probably is sight reading at the very first rehearsal because they haven't been forced to look at it yet. And that should never be you, but it's an unfortunate circumstance of, playing gigs. You don't know what the other people's preparation was. And of course, for Brandenburg, it's likely for the trumpet player to have more preparation than anybody else, right? Sometimes including the conductor. So that's something to be cognizant of, that you might not get to pick the tempo that you can play it at. And, even if you do, even if they say, no, we'll play whatever tempo you want. Okay, but how long will they hold that tempo before they either slide back into a more comfortable tempo for the group or rush ahead faster than you'd like to go? Which this piece can't go fast enough for me, unless I can't breathe in the right spots. But I would rather that than go too slow like this. So that's a good on the slow end but very conceivable tempo. Anyway, let's try to finish it out. We didn't quite get through this passage, so we'll start there again. Oh, with the reverb. Let's go extra reverb. That's it. I'm going to have to be really good at placing those. Have a good dinner, Dad. Oh. I have to be careful about that too. I can't retake anything. Got to just go with it. The space is too live. Of course, you can't do that trill on a natural trumpet, but now that's what we haven't talked about really. What is the articulation that would happen with a natural trumpet here? I do think it would be kind of light this way, ta 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 ta, but longer, right? Not staccato, but so in other words, and this would be good without the reverb, right? Oop, still got a little left on there. That's pretty staccato, right? On a natural trumpet, you might hear something more like, right? You'd hear more length to it, ta 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 ta, almost as emulating sort of the same direction on the bow. I'm not a very good bower. But right, you're going the same direction in the bow, and so there's sort of there's a sustain to it, and then sort of a lift, but not lifting the bow, just a sort of a lightness to the sound where they're going to continue it, and you can sort of hear that continuance through the silence. So that's more Baroque. In the space though, watch. Okay, so I'll do both for you. Okay, that was short. Now I'll do the longer version. Now watch, when I turn on the reverb, the short version, hopefully, might sound a little bit like the long version. This is short. Right? A little bit. Still a little too clear. And now let's play the long version just to hear it in live space. It should sound good too because Baroque music was meant to be played in pretty live spaces in general. You can hear it's much more, oops. No, I don't know why that, oh, I'm messing it all up. Yeah, there we go. It's much more sonorous that way, but it's also taking a long time to dissipate. And if we all do that, then it's really going to be cacophony. So I need to be prepared for both because maybe that does sound the best. I don't know. And that would be easier for me, to be honest. Long notes, not long held notes, but long articulated things like that are much easier because you can keep your air going more consistently through all the lines. If I have to go ta 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 ta, that's almost too much space where I have to kind of attack each note, and that takes it out of you. So anyway, that's the first movement of the Brandenburg. Let's try another mouthpiece before we quit, and do a little bit of the third movement as well. So I'm going to keep this back bore. This is my Schilke 6 back bore. Well, let's see if we can get it off here. Not yet. Get the strap wrench out. If you don't have one of these, you need a strap wrench. It's excellent. It's not so great at grabbing onto tiny things like this, but let's see, we want to turn it that way, so got to think your way through this as a problem. There we go. Got it. These two pieces have been together a long time, and you really, if I was really good about cleaning stuff, I would take everything apart every month and clean it off and make sure that there wasn't any gunk that was going to help it get stuck together, but I'm not good at it. So anyway, we're going to keep the back bore. It may not be the best back bore, but we're going to try it out. Now I don't know. I'm just looking. There's another mouthpiece here too. I think this is the one we want. We're going to try it first. I'm pretty positive it won't work, but we're going to try it to see. And why not play it in that same spot? We'll go without reverb for now. Okay. You can hear it's already more work, right? You can hear that. Let's try it with the reverb up. For whatever reason, my tuner is not picking me up without the reverb, so. Yeah, it's a little too hard for me. I mean, I'm also tired now, but let's try the other one. So that was called the 102 mouthpiece. That's just the number so that it doesn't get confused with this one, which is the 101 we're going to try now. And the other one is my normal mouthpiece that, if you're interested, it's called the V228, which I know what that means. And if you think you know what it means, if you're, for instance, my dad, that's a different V2. This is version 2 of a custom mouthpiece I had made a long time ago. So, and I don't think Peter knew that there was such a thing as a V2 Schilke rim. And it looks the same too. It's a little V with a big 2. But maybe he did and he thought that would be fun. Anyway. This is the 101, which is what I played on the jazz band gig the other day. Same back bore. bad too. But now, since we've tried this a few times, let's go back to the original and see if it feels just as bad. It probably does. In which case, guess what? It's time to quit for the day. Now, maybe later on, when it gets dark out and there's nothing else to do in the day, I might put a practice mute or maybe my piccolo cup mute, right? If you don't know what these are, they are lifesavers on church gigs. That's what they are. But just long tones like just sustained vibration that you're not pressing too hard, you're just making sure the airflow is good, and you're making an embouchure that works, right? So you're getting used to that and you're building strength for it. That's going to help a lot. I'm also going to do some straight up strength building exercises with this little tube. You just put it in there and kind of clench on it in every direction, try to keep it a circle. That I'll do for a little while as well. Just build some strength to use for this, but then I also want to put it to use, otherwise I'll just be muscle bound and then I'll just get bad response. So, oops. That's right, we're going to try this out. So I've gone a little flat, but you can hear I made it through the passage much better on this mouthpiece than I did on either of the other two. And that's because the bite on those two mouthpieces is so extreme, so you have to hold against the bite, which normally is fine. That's not a big deal, but I'm not strong enough to do that for these kinds of lifted short notes for this amount of time and in this range, right? So not this low range necessarily, but this mouthpiece is designed so that it has sort of a soft shoulder to the rim, and so when I press, if I start to press, you start to press when you get tired, and especially when you're trying to play higher than you really can sustain. But what happens with this mouthpiece is as I press, it progressively makes my lip fall into the mouthpiece on the edges, and then that makes the cup effectively smaller in inner diameter, right? So as I press, it just keeps making the hole smaller, and it holds me passively a little bit better. And so if I don't press too hard, and I do try to resist that pressure with muscle and air, then I can remain in balance a little bit longer, because the one thing that's going, I have sort of, you can think of it as sort of leverage control. Like if you trade stocks, if you trade a leverage market, whatever happens to that futures market, you can double the leverage, and then you make more money when it's good, and you lose more money when it's bad. It's the same kind of thing. I'm leveraging the shape of the mouthpiece and my passive pressure ability against the other two elements, which are air and strength, because when my strength gives out, I can control a little bit of my strength with passive pressure. And when my air is not going to give out, but passive pressure is going to cause swelling. So when I need more, when I start to swell and I have to press harder just to get the response to happen, then it works sooner, so I don't have to press quite so hard. That is a dangerous game, but so far this mouthpiece works for most things for me. So, and all of this comes down to your dentition and your other. I just saw on Facebook today, somebody asked, what is a more efficient mouthpiece so that you don't do more work than you have to on piccolo? And my first thought was, why wouldn't you want to do work to make sure that it works, right? So in other words, that the perspective maybe shouldn't be, how can I do, no, this is not what the question asker asked, but you don't want the perspective of how can I get the same results by doing less work, but how can I make my work that I'm willing to do and able to do more effective so that everything I want comes out on the trumpet, right? that's maybe a more realistic perspective. So anyway, I said we'd play some of the last movements, so let's do that before we quit. And my dad went to cook dinner. Maybe I should do the same thing here soon. So, all right. This is the one everybody's afraid of, but this movement's actually a lot easier, I think. So let's see what it sounds like in the hall. Woo. It's a nice long rest. Well, not too long, a couple minutes for the andante, thank goodness. All right, here we go. So those last notes are going to be big liabilities, way more than the scales, right? Let's see. Make sure you get the last one not too flat, actually. See if there's any other nasty spot in this. Not really. Whew. So I've clearly got a lot of endurance to build to be able to play this by Saturday. I'm not going to build it by not playing, but I'm also not going to build it by overplaying. And so to sort of finish things out, we've played lots of little pieces of it. I'm going to keep piecing it together over the week. I'm going to make sure I play every note of it and recognize whatever challenges are within, but I'm also not going to just play through it top to bottom 18 times between now and Saturday. That's not going to help me get there. What is going to help me get there is long tones, lip slurs, fundamentals on piccolo trumpet, and my normal fundamentals on B-flat trumpet. So I'm going to do extra sets of long tones to make sure I have the physical stamina to do it. I'm going to do a little bit of strength training, but again, if I overdo it, I will be weak on the day I need to be strong. So be cognizant of that when you work on something very hard like this. I still have time. Wednesday, tomorrow, I will probably really hit hard if I can. Yeah, I don't know when I'm going to do that, but I'll try to stream everything that I do if possible, just because then it's on here. And if somebody is preparing Brandenburg in 4 days or in 4 months, maybe this will at least. I don't think that it will necessarily help somebody too much, but I think it might let them avoid some of the pitfalls that they might have otherwise fallen into. And I guess that is sort of a negative form of help. So I hope that is what happens. And I also hope I make it to Saturday, and more importantly, that I make it to the 26th of May, I think it's going to be, because that's when I have to actually play it. So even if I fold in Saturday's rehearsal, I hope to be able to say that I made it work a month later. And a month is plenty of time. That's how much time I took the first time I did it. And I played it basically every day for a month. Not the whole thing, but I started this work, 3 weeks earlier, basically. So actually, if you're talking about the concert, I'm starting this almost a week earlier than last time, because I have 5 weeks, including this week, to get it in shape. So that's actually, maybe I'll play it even better than last time. Anyway, thanks to my dad for coming on and checking it out. And I hope he's eating a great dinner by now. And if you're watching this in the future, tell me when we're done with COVID, and I don't know, and what you had for dinner. Maybe it was like, I don't know, future paste or something. And yeah, tune in probably every day this week and probably many days in the next month to come for sort of Brandenburg workout sessions. And I'll try to be really clear and smart about my practice for myself, but also to describe it for you on the stream so that you know what the heck I'm thinking. And we'll see how it goes. Maybe I can even get you guys to come to the live stream of it in May. All right? Sayonara for now.